It's recording right now. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the today health session. As you may understand, we are at the end of the semester and this is going to be a very packed session. Just I want to point out, this is something very specific related with the specific assignment you are doing during these 3 weeks, but you shouldn't miss the big picture. And the big picture is AI, contemporary AI, cognitive capability, which are given by the involvement of big data and machine learning. So that is the big picture. We're talking about contemporary AI, which evolved, which has in the heart the machine learning involvement empowered by the big data. And that's why it's in this course. That is the things the field has been evolving. And this is the state of the art we are standing today in this topic. So please do not miss the big picture. And I want to see this in the discussion. I want to see in the discussion talking about contemporary AI, which is not to substitute human, and what are the capability of this contemporary AI. We see product in each and every corner of our personal life, professional life, social life, wherever you go. The product of the contemporary AI are all over, and we as a data scientist must be capable to understand what is our role in this development. So again, I want to see paradigm shift in the discussion forum and to see your contribution on this. I see first week a lot of focus in what are the specific IBM services. This is fine, but we are done with this. Let's move on. Let's move to AI, all binary, all the consequences, all issue we have to discuss related with machine learning. With no more, I'm giving the word to Elena.
All right. So here is the agenda. It's huge. So basically, what's a chatbot? Key terminology. We're going to apply terminology to build an application, and I called it Mr. Bear My Chatbot application. This is original, not taken from anywhere. Okay. Now we're going to talk about some best practices, some of the tips and tricks, and we're going to talk about a little bit about the assignment for requirements, all right? And we're going to talk about the whatever you want to talk about, questions and answers. Okay. Now I'm a broken record. But this is important one. The first one, I'm not sure how loud to scream, how to emphasize this, but you have to have the dialogue ready 3 days before the assignment is due. Why? Because one part of it is the configuration, integration with another service, with Discovery service. The service cannot be rushed, right? If it takes 12 hours to build the repository of documents, then it's gonna take 12 hours, right? You cannot say, hurry up, I have assignment due, right? Then there is a 2 days long experiment, okay? So you have to allow yourself 3 days. So if assignment is due on the 10th, when is it due? On 10th, right? So think about when you need to have this ready. By Saturday night, you should have this ready, right? Sunday, you should be running the Discovery, right? Or in fact, it's better to run it overnight. You don't have to sit next to your computer when you do it. Now, please do not deactivate your IBM Cloud account. Do not enter credit card numbers, right? And please do not submit any ticket to IBM. It's not likely that we're gonna tell you to do it. Please do not deactivate your account. Before we started, before you work on a walkthrough, you must earn at least 70% on Chatbot Key Concepts quiz, all right? In the course content, please take it. Now, the number of attempts is not limited, but then the way it works is that the questions are selected randomly from the pool. So when you retake it, you may see a different question. If you answer the question correct, well, Final results tell you if you got the answer right or wrong. If you got it wrong, it does not tell you the correct answer. So think about it. But when you know which answer is incorrect, you're on a way to get the correct answer, right? Now, chatbot walkthrough, it needs to be done in order. The walkthrough was written intentionally in a way that you have to start from the first page and you have to keep going. You cannot skip any ungraded exercises. You cannot skip any ungraded exercises because what's going on the next page builds on that exercise, okay? So you will see that you cannot skip anything. You must do it in order as it appears. Now, what you develop for assignment 4 must be your original work. So you cannot turn in Mr. BMI that you're gonna get today. You cannot submit Mr. Cold, okay? So if you submit that, then it's gonna be not original work. You're not gonna get credit for original work, okay? Now, you want to pay close attention to assignment deliverable, okay? Anyone here does not know how to count until 2? Well, you know you need to submit 2 files, right? JSON file and the paper, okay? Now, remember this, you cannot undo the deletions. And please, please, please do not delete Watson Discovery Service. Please, 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 please do not delete Watson Discovery Service. If you do that, then you should be able, you should feel comfortable with giving me your credentials, because when you delete Discovery Service, it does not clear out some internal resources entirely. And I would have to run the PowerShell script on your account to reclaim the resources. So if you deleted Watson Discovery, not Watson Assistant, Watson Discovery, you will not be able to easily re-add the service. So please, please, please think 10 times before you do anything, right? Now, if you do have to delete Watson Assistant service, you make sure that you save a copy of the JSON file, right? And I'll show you what I'm talking about, right? You would have to export the JSON file for the chatbot to submit it. And also, sometimes if you're having an issue with development, I may have to ask you to provide the JSON file for troubleshooting, okay? And now remember this, the only mistake you can make is not asking for help. Well, it's not the only mistake, but it's one of the mistakes you can make on this assignment. If you don't ask for help on time, you're gonna be in trouble, okay? Now, here, this is a partial list, but you received the list of chatbot must know terminology. It's a prerequisite for assignment, okay? Let's say it this way, there are certain things that has to happen before you start working on assignment. So number 1 is the quiz, number 2 is this terminology, right? And you have to do the walkthrough, right? You develop simple Mr. Call chatbot, okay? Now, and you cannot skip anything. You must do it in order as it is, because the next page it builds on top of what you're doing on current page. All right. So now, what is Yelena talking about it? Well, the chatbot it's a system that understands your natural language. So I can put something in the natural language, and it's gonna respond to me, right? Like for example, explain to me what is BMI. I put in natural language, and it gives me the answer, right? Uh, so basically, yes, it could be trained, right? And then it interacts with user, and the goal is to solve perhaps specific problem, if you will. And you will see the problem we are trying to solve today. Now, so this is a high level step. What you're gonna do is you're gonna define the purpose. You're gonna write up the scenarios, and I'll show you how to do the scenarios. Now you're gonna build the flow diagram. Please do not tell me that you don't have access to Visio. Everybody does, because as a student, you get the free installation of the Word, Microsoft Office, and also the Visio. You can install it on one PC for free. If you need the details, I'll have them for you. So you have access to Visio, and you could use that to develop the flow diagram, right? You might end up revising your flow diagram as you're working on assignment. Okay, now you're gonna use the Watson Assistant service to implement the dialogue. You're gonna be training the application, right? Then you're gonna be integrating this with Watson Discovery Service to allow searching the latest collection of documents. You're gonna deploy, well, you're not gonna actually deploy, but you're gonna pretend that you deploy in this case, the preview link, right? Then you're gonna monitor the conversation log and you're gonna train it. And then you're gonna identify the limitations. You could suggest enhancements for approval, right? So as you're watching me presenting my little application, right? See if you can see limitation in there. Okay. Now just see what's gonna happen. Okay, so what we're gonna do today here is I'm gonna present you Mr. BMI chatbot application. So here is the mission. I may estimate my body mass index knowing my height in inches and weight in pounds. Limitation 1, it does not support other metric units. The weight must be in pounds and the height must be in inches, right? I did not allow user specify the metrics. Well, okay, now, why would I want to use it? Well, it's available 24/7 and it does not cost me anything, right? Now, it also, well, let's say consistent because you could use it to explain your blood pressure readings. So if I run the chatbot and I say that my blood pressure is 120/80, I'm gonna get a response that it's a normal blood pressure. If Lanesh enters the same blood pressure, he's gonna get the same response. So it's consistent and it's a free, right? And your responses remain confidential. Then your conversation starts nicely, right? With the greetings, and it tells you what to expect. And now, well, but of course, to answer new questions, you have to train the application. So remember that to answer new question, you have to do some training. Okay, so let me see. And please provide details. Oh, to install Visio? Oh, yes, you have access, and also you have access student software. You have access, I need to find the details. But as a student, you have access. You go to the umuc.edu. I believe there is a link to the student software. Okay, remind me to find it for you, okay? And you get one installation. But what I recommend you do is this: save the download file, and save the code, because if you have to reinstall it later on your PC, you'll have it, okay? Because they give you access, well, they give you like for 2 days, download, save the installation file and save a copy of the code. So you will have it, okay? Oh, okay, no problem. Because you know oh, did you find it? Let me know if you found it. But anyways, so you get one PC, and I as a former student, right? I could get the two. So no, okay, here I describe the conversation scenarios. So let's set up. I have a doctor's office, and I have 3 doctors here. And I have Mr. Monitor, Miss Stethoscope, and Mr. BMI. And each doctor has different duty hours, right? So basically what I want to happen is that when I launch my chatbot, the doctor that greets me, right, I see the picture depending on the time of the day that it's now, right? So what is this? What is the time of the day? Isn't it the system entity, right? So I have to use a system entity that determines what time of the day it's now. And based on that, it's going to show different picture, right? So conditional response, there we go. Depending on the time of the day, it's going to show me the different picture. Here are the 3 pictures, right? And I'm going to go now to exactly to the application. Oops. So here is a Watson Assistant. Let me go ahead and preview this. I'm going to refresh. You saw a different picture, right? So now it's after 8 p.m. And this is a Mr. BMI. So he sees this little picture and he's asking, how may I help you? And see here, there is a little menu I can select from, right? Now, what I'll do here, I click and I'm going to click on Estimate BMI. What it's doing right now is this. It's going to ask me what's my height in inches, right? So this is one scenario. The first scenario is that it's asking me to enter BMI, and I'm going to put my height in inches. Now remember that the number, right? This is a system entity number. It recognizes if I enter it as a number or if I spell it out. So for example, if I put 60, right, it's gonna recognize that I put a number in. Now it's gonna ask, so this is a height, it's gonna ask me how many pounds I weigh, something like that. And it's gonna give me, based on that, it's gonna tell me that I have a healthy weight. So there is somewhere here, I'm reading numbers from the input, right? And then what else is it doing? It's returning the message, conditional response based on what the calculation is, right? I believe it's taking the height squared divided by the weight, something like that. The calculation is in the implementation, and you will get a copy of the JSON file. You will get a copy of the file, okay? Well, basically, so here, another thing is this, let me refresh this. So now we start from the beginning. Look, this is what's gonna happen. If I do estimate BMI, it's gonna ask me what your height in inches, and I'm gonna put the garbage in, right? They're gonna ask me again to re-enter my height in inches, right? Something like that. See this? It says the purpose of this, right? And now it's asking me enter the height. So see this, I got a little bit of explanation in here, and it repeats me to enter my height in inches, right? So this is a required input. I cannot proceed if I don't specify this, right? If I don't specify this, I cannot proceed. So see that now I put a little bit different, right? It's different, it's giving me 24, and it's still giving me healthy weight, right? Now, usually after each option, I display the menu again. Well, not in this case, but okay, let's look at another scenario. See this, same thing, the blood pressure, right? I'm gonna give them two readings, and I say my systolic blood pressure is gonna be this, and my diastolic blood pressure is gonna be 90. Let's see what it tells me. It should be saying that I'm elevated. See this, your blood pressure is elevated, so it determines based on the numbers. Now, what do you want to do next? See this? This is how the menu is displayed when you have less options. And suppose that I want to say I want to exit, right? Now what it's gonna be? Look at this. It says, it has been a pleasure to assist you this Thursday. What is this? What is Thursday? Somewhere it's using the date entity to read what? Today's day of the week, right? It's also conditional response because if it's a weekend, it's gonna say have a nice weekend. Okay. So what I would like you to do is that you're gonna take this file and consider running this at different times of the day, right? Or I'm also gonna give you the preview link. So consider trying it on a weekend, trying it during different times of the day. Then you're gonna benefit of seeing the how the date entities work. Okay. Now, another thing that is done in there, I'm gonna refresh, so that's gonna start another conversation. Now, suppose that I don't know what BMI is. What is it doing right now? Let's take a look. Part of it is hard-coded, part of it is not. So this part is the hard-coded, right? I have an explanation. I have a picture. Now, what is this? What the hell is this? Take a look at this. Think about it. Where does it come from? This is an integration with what? With Discovery Service. I built the collection of articles from the WebMD is a site with interesting medical and fitness information. That's what I'm using here. And I built this repository, and this is pulling the articles related to body mass index. And I can click on see more, it gives more articles. And I also could click on this and it will open the article in a new window. See this? It gives me the link to an article. It can open the article in the new window and I can just read about that, read more about the obesity, etc. Right? Now, another thing that it has is that email me the information. So this, it has to read the valid email from the screen. So if I type something like XXX, it's gonna know that my email is not valid. So I bet you I have to use some type of regular expression or something in here, right? To read the email. But if I type something like xxx@hotmail.com, it's gonna say it's valid. It does not actually send the email. but it's checking for the specific characters in the email. Okay. Now Jesus, it's gonna echo what I entered, right? Now another thing is that suppose that I want to do something that was not planned. I type how to do CPR. I just typed it, right? So what do you think is gonna happen? Well, this is an unexpected input, right? The chatbot was not trained on that input. Usually when the chatbot is not trained on something, you're gonna go to anything else logic, right? The last node in a dialogue, it's anything else, right? It's the last node that gets executed was nothing matches the search, but this is an exception, and I wanted to make sure that you're aware of it. If you have a search skill, when you create an assistant, if you have a search skill, when you enter something that's unexpected input, it's gonna try to run the search. It's gonna try to build the documents. It's gonna try to search the document repositories that you built. I do not have CPR is not part of my chatbot implementation, but when I typed it, it gave me the articles on a CPR topic. Do you see that? I did not explicitly train it, but it's picking up the input and it's searching behind the scene, it's searching the document repository for that input, right? So that's what it's doing in here. Okay. Question, after selecting the website link, is there a way to close the link? Oh, to go back to the chatbot? Oh, okay, let me show you. Let me show you what happened. I did not close. See, like when I click on the link, it's opening up a new tab. This is a new tab, okay? I just get back to this tab, okay? I'm not, this is this opening in a new tab, this link, okay? See that? This is what it's doing. It's not opening in this tab. This is another tab, okay? And do you see this? Do you see this? This is new, guys. This is new. The hands-on CPR for adults, hands only. So if I did something crazy like hard-coded this information, it would not have picked up hands-only CPR. And I'm CPR certified actually. So basically last summer, because of the COVID, they introduced the new option. You can do without rescue breath, you can do hands-only, right? So if I had the guidelines hard-coded, no way in the world I would have picked up the new guidelines, right, for hands only. So that's the reason you don't want to hard code the documents on paper to build this repository. You want to use a web crawler because you want it to refresh and you want it to pick up the latest guidelines, right? So that's why we're doing this integration for this assignment. Okay. The website links, yes, they may still open. It's another tab, or you could close. I closed because I have a bad habit of having too many things open on my PC, if you will. So yeah, you can have it open. You can have it open and you can come back and read it. Like if you're interested in the option for hands-only CPR, well, you just keep on going. You just do 30 compressions and then keep on going. You don't have to do the rescue breath, that's what it is. Hands only. Okay. Yes. Okay. No problem. Well. Here, see this? I just typed. I randomly typed the topic, and it gave me the guidelines. Okay. Now, the thing is, now let's go back to the slide. What I did was I spelled it out a few things for you. So this is a scenario, conversation scenario, estimate BMI, and I explained it here, right? How many scenarios do you need? 5. How many of you cannot count until 5? Hopefully nobody, right? Everybody knows how to count until 5. So if it says 5, there should be 5, right? Okay, now it's not 5 nodes, it's 5 scenarios. So I don't know how many nodes it might take to implement each scenario. Well, now, well, this is my blood pressure, right? Where I'm entering, and it's gonna give me the explanations of my reading. And one of the readings, if it's really very, very high, I set up the application to terminate and to suggest a person to go to the emergency room. If it's too low, right? or if it's too high, which is above 180. If the higher upper reading is above 180 and the lower reading above 120, you have to go to emergency room, right? If either one or both. Okay, now well, this is explain two topics I physically hard-coded, right? I hard-coded this explanation and the image, but the rest of the articles are being pulled dynamically. See, they're being pulled dynamically from the repositories that I built, and I set up how frequently I want my repository to refresh. Okay. Well, I set up once a month because I did not want the refresh to start while I'm doing this demo. Okay. Well, this is email me the information, right? So I just described the big picture, and this is exit. The message you get depends on the time when you end the conversation, right? If you will. This is how the conversation diagram looks like. You're gonna do well. You're gonna put. See, it's like you started, right? The chatbot introduces itself, and you have a set of options. Then what happens when each option is selected, right? You have a separate branch. This is basically, well, you might be revising it as you keep on working on it. I don't recommend doing too many things at once. You do a little bit, but you have to start early because when you make a change, you have to retest everything. One change and you have to retest the whole dialogue. So trust me, this application took semesters because, well, initially the way it started is just like, Elena, how do we read the number? How do we work with numbers? Okay, let's work on this. Let's see if we enter the weight, height, and let's see if we can get the body mass index rate, something like that. That's how it started, and then I ended up adding to this. All right, and well, what you have to do is, those are just the now more technical steps. You have to add new skill, and some older readings, the skill is called as a workspace. No, and while we're here, so see, this is a new skill. The skill has a little menu. What you have to do is you need to click on download to get the JSON file, right? When you, yep, so I have it open somewhere. So it's in here. Oops, it's what's an assistant? I had it open. So see, guys, I told you that my problem is sometimes I have too many things open at the same time, and then I don't remember. Okay, I'm gonna click on watch once on the assistant, and I'm going to show you. So here, you've got assistants, right? And you've got the skills, right? So skill basically groups your elements of your chatbot and a dialogue implementation. So this is a Mr. BMI, right? And this is a skill. If I click here, if I go download, I'm going to get my copy of my JSON file, right? And then this is what's going to happen when you submit the JSON file for with the assignment. Your instructor is going to do this. He or she is going to go create skill, and then I was gonna do the dialogue skill, right? I'm gonna hit next, and then gonna do the upload skill, and we'll take your file that you submitted, and great, right? And also this is what you're gonna do. I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna give you after this presentation, I'm gonna give a copy of this of the JSON file for this chatbot. So you're gonna do create skill, you're gonna do the dialogue skill, you're gonna go next, and you're gonna go upload, and you're gonna select that file. I'm gonna give it to you. It's gonna be posted in announcement, right? The instructor will post it in announcement. But since we're on that page, I have to show you that now, okay? Now, and then you're gonna be, well, what I did was I was doing both. I was adding intents manually, and some of it was via import. Well, mostly manually because I was working on it slowly. Okay, but when you do the intents, I just spelled it out something for you. Intent is, well, specific. Well, it's a specific something that you want to do. You want to estimate something. You want to turn something on. or you want to exit, you want to email the information, intent is an action, and entity qualifies the action. Like you want to turn something on as an intent. Entity will be, what do you want to turn on? The air conditioning, the radio, the light, something like that, right? So entity qualifies. There are different types of entities. You have a user entity, right? And you also have this, you have the system entities, and you have a pattern, email, right? And I will show you the configuration. So let's go back. This is Mr. BMI Health Center, and I'm gonna see this is entities, right? My entities and system entities. Okay, so my entities, well, in this case, I have only two. Well, explain what? Explain the topic, right? I want to explain the topic and what's inside the topic. There are different topics. Topic is blood pressure, and another topic is BMI, and those are the synonyms, right? Because depending on where you're from, you may use the different term to refer to the same concept, right? So blood pressure. Well, how do I get all of this? Well, it was done through training, let's say, right? It's a semester from semester work, but I'm gonna do that, and this is different. Email is it's a pattern entity. So what I did was I took this from the documentation. This is a pattern for email. Now, you might be wondering if you could have synonyms. Yes, you can. You can have more than one pattern. I'll tell you, example is a phone number. If you're doing a phone number, you have the international phone number and you have domestic phone number. So you're gonna have two patterns here. Okay, like if you're doing a phone number, you're gonna have two patterns, domestic and international. Okay, so it's possible to have more than one value in here, right? More than one pattern rather. Value is valid email, and in here are the patterns that you could use to match. So if whatever text is entered is matching this pattern, then it's considered a valid email. It's not going to send an email to check if it bounced back. But what that will do is that it will just check for the string pattern matching. Okay. Now let's go back. Some of the slides are the notes. As I was working on this, I was taking a lot of notes, and then I said, okay, let me give you these notes, right? Well, okay, so I just spelled out the difference between your entities and system entities. So when you export the entities, you cannot export the system entities, right? System entities are, well, if you will, you can say it's pre-installed, right? In this example, we are using the system time, system date, and system number. Numbers we use to read the user's input when they specify how much they weigh. And don't be confused. Number doesn't mean that they have to enter it as digits. They can spell out the number and it will identify it correctly. Okay. Your entities are editable. System entities are not. You cannot add them. You cannot add system entities manually. And then username starts with SYS. So when you create your own entities, you cannot use SYS as a prefix because it's reserved for the system entities. Okay. Remember the naming conventions. Entity starts with an at, right? Okay. Now, well, this is how to add the entities manually. This is a review, right? But what I did was I took notes, and that's why I put this. Okay. Oh, what? No longer included as part? Well, I have to look at this. Well, I have to look at it because you have to go. No, you don't go to the. Okay, I'm going to look at it because I don't know the latest. I'm gonna check the latest on the video. I don't know. Okay, but there is another application called Draw.io that you can use. Anything that you want to use, anything that you want to use uh, to show the diagram. If you can do it in Word, go for it. If you can do it in a PowerPoint, go for it. Okay. But I will have to look because no longer included. Okay, okay. Well, I have to check. because before, at the time when I installed it, there was the 2019. I installed the 2019 version. I have not checked, but I will. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. But let's do it this way, guys. You use any applications that you want to use, but you have to show this flow diagram. Okay? Just anything you want to use. Does not matter. Okay? Now, well, let's continue. So that's about using entities manually. Okay. Well, here, this is about the dialog. This is how the dialog looks like. And see, the thing is, see how I'm doing this a little bit backwards, right? I gave you the big picture first, and then I'm reverse engineering it. This is a dialog. Every dialog must start with a welcome note. So this is what happens when the conversation starts. Okay, it's gonna go into this condition. Well, and welcome node has a child node, right? Now, what I'm doing here, do not do this for the parent node. Do not set the condition, entry condition true for the parent node. I'm only doing it here because it's a child node. So what this does is, let me close this thing. Okay, well, this is what it's doing. It's checking the time. Now before, see this is what it's doing. It's doing the conditional response, and it's checking the time now, right? If it's now before 10, it's gonna look at between midnight and 10. And this is a response to show. And this is what happens if it's after 5, right? Between 5 and midnight. And then you have another response type otherwise. So I'm gonna click on here. This is a configuration. First of all, see this is a condition, right? This is a response type as a text. And I entered several variations because I don't want this to repeat itself, right? Every time the Mr. Monitor is on shift, he is a broken record. He repeats the same greetings, right? We don't want that. So you set this up. And then, well, here, for an image, you specify the URL. You don't paste the image here. You specify the image URL, okay? All right, so this is good. And then after we did that, it's gonna go to the next one. It's gonna go to here, right? The child node. It's gonna display the menu. Well, first of all, the context. What this is doing is that this is just the this is just taking the today's date, and see this when you see 5 letters E, it means it's taking the complete name of the day. If it's 3 letters, it's gonna take the day abbreviation, like Monday, for instance, MON versus full spelling of Monday. All of this is in a documentation, right? So that's where I took that from. But the whole idea is my original, but you're gonna look at the documentation to find out how to do things, right? And what is this is that somewhere I decided to do this. I decided to count how many times the bot attempted to re-ask the same question. So if you are not entering the expected input, right? If it repeated 5 times, perhaps, right? If it prompted you for the correct input 5 times and you still have not entered, sometimes you want to quit, right? Somewhere I'm doing it in one of the nodes. Okay, well, that was not an initial plan, but I think it was a student's request. Somebody asked if it's possible to do it. So you can see a mix of things. Now, well, this is how the options work. This is somewhat similar. If you know some HTML, you don't have to, but if you do, remember how you have the list box. You have whatever is displayed, right, and the actual value. In this case, the value is going to be an intent that gets fired. It's an intent that gets triggered if you select that option. Okay, so that's what it is. If I select the option, right, if I select exit, it's going to trigger goodbye intent. Value is an intent that's supposed to be triggered, right? And based on intent that gets triggered, it selects a node to execute. Okay, Well, so that's how the menu is done. Menu is just list of options. And if you remember it, if you know HTML, this might help you actually, because you know that there is a label, right? This is what I actually see, how it's displayed. And the value is what that option actually does, right? It's what intent it triggers, right? And doing the menu will help because the user does not need to type, right? The user knows what option to select, so to speak, right? I'm given a choice. It's more user friendly because I know what the chatbot can do for me, right? So that's a menu, and then you're going to select the option, right? So it's waiting for user response. Response is the option that you select. In other words, selecting exit option is equivalent to typing the word goodbye. It's equivalent to if I type the word goodbye, okay? But if I type the word goodbye, it's gonna start from the top. It's gonna check all of the nodes, right? Now it's gonna check parent nodes. Does the node entry condition match, satisfy the goodbye intent? No, right? No, 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 yes, right? So this is a node that it gets triggered, goodbye node, right? And that is it. Well, in here, well, remember that I had the day, right? I had the day stored in my context variables. So this is a day. And here it's checking the date and displaying the message based on the day. Okay, I'm gonna let you play around with this, right? And anything else, in this case, it's not anything else node. But what it's doing here is this. It's checking if the day is Saturday or Sunday, then this. Otherwise, anything else is here is not an anything else node. It's other values. I did not want to spell the remaining days of the week. So I said if it's anything other than Saturday and Sunday, I want to show the image and the text. And in here, I see response variations and the image URL that I want to see. Okay. And on the weekend, it's gonna show different. It's gonna show different. Message, okay? Well, but here, take a look at this. What is this? This is displaying the content of the variable, right? Because another thing that I have not showed you yet is this. As you're developing your chatbot, you're gonna use this try it thing, right? Try it. Something very important is this manage context, because this is gonna save you a lot. It's gonna show you what your context variable I set to. I started running it, right? I'm storing the date, right? This is what I have. Now what I'm gonna do, right? I'm gonna select the option, right? I'm gonna select this, estimate BMI, and it's gonna ask me my height in inches. I'm gonna enter the height, and I'm gonna click enter. Now, look at this. What's gonna happen? You're gonna click on manage context, and you want to make sure that I have height in here. You want to make sure that this is correct, right? What is this? This is correct, right? This is what I typed 60. It read correctly, right? You're gonna be looking at this a lot. Now, why does it say relevant? Because I'm not calling any intent. But what it did was it identified the entity, the number in the input, right? Now here I can type something like right? I put 100 and it's gonna catch it. See this? It's gonna catch it. I entered 100, right? Now when I go in here, I'm supposed to see, well, see this? This is a number. I can spell the number and it should catch it, right? There we go. You're gonna work with this. This is what you're gonna use to test your work as you're developing it, right? So I'm supposed to see that it read my number correctly, my values are correct, right? And this is a calculation. If you go and you're gonna have a copy of this, trust me, you're gonna have a copy of this. But this is a little bit complicated. Well, here what it's doing is it's checking to make sure that you specify it's checking to make sure that you specify the number, right? So this is called a slot. it keeps on asking until the slot is satisfied, right? Now, another thing is this, handlers. Well, while it's asking me for the input, I can quit at any time, right? I should have an option to quit. So we add a handler that allows me to quit, or I could perhaps ask the qualifying questions. Oh, please explain what you mean. What is this? What exactly are you looking for, right? So this is what the handler is. Goodbye and then explain. Okay. You have to have a handler because, well, if somebody is testing your conversation, you have to be able to exit at any time you want, right? You don't want to have an infinite loop because, you know, you're gonna, you might not get what the result you get. Oh, well, here, this is basically that's how you access. This is just how you read the variable here. This is just a calculation, okay? This is a syntax on how to handle the calculation. And you can click here on the gear to see more. This is how to output the number. Well, this is a calculation, right? It's taking the weight. Oh, it's weight times 1703 divided by height squared. This is just the formula, okay? And then it's giving me this comment based on the determination, okay? You're gonna have a copy of this, okay? Well, now let's go back to try it. I'm going to select now suppose that I say this email. It's gonna pick up the intent email me. I'm going to enter this incorrectly. Now it's asking me again, right? And let's see what's gonna happen. Oh, do you see this, guys? Well, now it's doing this. Attempt is equal 1. Why is it attempt is equal 1? Because I used my first attempt to ask for the email. This is what it's doing here. This is where I'm using attempt. Now I'm gonna answer it again, and it's asking me again to enter the incorrect email, and I reached my second attempt. Now I'm gonna do again wrong an email, and that's it. I exit. See this? Sorry, the valid email is required to send you the information. So here, what I'm doing is this. For email, I allow maximum 3 attempts. If a user does not enter correct email on the third attempt, then that's it. And it's supposed to reset attempts to 0. Okay? Well, this is what is done. I'm counting. If you want, you're gonna have this code, right? For the email, when the user is asked to enter an email, I ask 3 times. If you answer it incorrectly on the third attempt, I go back to the main menu. Okay, so that's another way to break the slot because I don't want to be going through this infinite loop forever. I should have a way to break. So if I don't answer it correctly 3 times, that's it, right? Or here, now notice this, you cannot search you cannot test the search skill here. So you might be wondering, I clicked on this option, where is my search? You cannot do this. You cannot test the search skill from this try it window. You have to preview, you have to build assistant, you have to add the search skill to assistant and a dialog skill assistant, and you have to use the preview link in order to test the search skill. You cannot do it here, okay? Just remember this, you cannot test it here, okay? Now, and remember the images, you specify the URL. You do not paste the image into this application, okay? Now, and what is this? This is a folder. It just groups in nodes with similar purpose because I want to collapse stuff, I want to expand stuff and collapse stuff, right? So that's the main reason. I have anything else node, but if you notice that, if I run this here, if I put like CPR in here, it's gonna go to, sorry, I don't understand. Can you try rephrasing? If I'm testing it here in try it window, I'm going to go to one of these responses here and anything else. But if I'm testing this from the preview link, it's gonna attempt to do the search, okay? If I'm doing it from the preview link, I have a search skill. If it does not recognize the input, it will attempt to run the search for that, okay? So this is important for the paper. Can you touch an example of dialogue scenarios? Yes, I did. I just talked about the okay. I just talked about the dialogue scenarios in here. Dialogue scenario is this over here. You're going to have a copy of this, right? You will have a copy of this thing. Your scenario is going to be different, right? But this is a scenario. I log in, I'm greeted by the chatbot, and I see my menu, and I selected please. I selected the BMI, right? I selected the option for the BMI, and the chatbot asked me questions. I answer question. This is the answer I get. So this is a scenario over here. Does it make sense? Well, does it make sense? This is a scenario. This is another scenario. Blood pressure, right? Another scenario. Explain. Another scenario. Email me the information. User select email me. The chatbot prompts you to enter the email address. If your response contains a valid email, the email will be echoed. You're gonna see this message. Okay? Yes, you have 5 of this, something like that. Yes. And for this, basically, well, it's just a flow chart. Remember that. Like the diamond is a decision block, right? And then the square is the action. See this? Okay. Well, see this here. This one, this rectangle, it's action. Use the user greet the chatbot, right? Diamond is a decision. Okay. What did she enter? Based on what she entered, let's do this, right? So you have different error, right? Ask her to do this. Did she enter this? Did she enter that? Okay. And this is how you do. So diamond is a decision and block is the step. Okay, let's say it this way, right? And you may just, even if you write it down in English, you're gonna see it. Write down in English instead of like, if I do this, then I'm gonna see that, right? In the Mr. Code, you can write it up too. If a user enter the symptoms, then it's gonna be this and this and this. Well, it's sort of like a narrative. Well, if you start writing out what you want your chatbot to do, this will come. It's not going to be immediate, trust me. When I first did this, it was just the whole purpose was just to read the number and to do some calculation and output the number. That's what initial chatbot this looked like. Then I gave it a name and etc. and started adding stuff to it. Okay, this is not one night thing. You're not going to have anything complex as this. Okay. Trust me, you're not gonna have anything complex as this. But I did it because I wanted to show you different things that can be done, you know. And see, this is an email. You have to okay. Let's look in your walkthrough. I showed you how to edit in the JSON editor, right? Context variable. Here, you can also do this directly. See this, you can do show context directly. Well, I'll tell you why. At the time when the walkthrough was written, there was no such an option to see the context. Actually, this is an email note. There was no this. Well, there is an option here to see the context. There was no such a thing. You only could see the JSON editor. So that's why. But you know, well, see this is check for email. Well, see this when I click on here, uh, I can do open JSON editor. So this is a JSON editor with a context, but also I saw it where you can specify. Oh, here. Well, this is the you can specify the actual context the way I'm doing it. So see this is a slot, right? I'm checking for the email, right? And I can go in here and you can even customize. So this is what happens when I enter email. What happens if I don't? And in here, I have to, somewhere I have to add the counter, right? If the email is incorrect, somewhere I have to increase my counter too, right? So, but Jesus, so this is an email. I'm gonna let you play with this. So see, it's in here. it's in here. If the email is not recognized, if my attempt is greater than 1, then it's this, right? Otherwise, please enter invalid email. So basically, the action that gets taken depends on how many attempts you took. Let's say it this way, right? Okay, now discard changes. Discard. Okay. Well, you saw this, right? You can do. Okay. Do we have to use diamonds and rectangles correctly? Can we just use rectangles? Well, decision is a diamond, but why? There is a diamond shape in Word. I'm not sure if there is not. I think there is a diamond shape. Okay. Or you can do the rotate. Well, you have to use the decision block. You have to use the correct shape. Otherwise, it's not clear what it is. We don't want to be confusing, right? Okay. There is, but it might be confusing. Oh, you're just asking for clarity. Excellent. I like that you ask because, it's yeah. You want to make sure it's clear. Oh, well, see this, then it respond with, you have this little ellipses, and you can choose, you can open the context editor now and type like I do here. But in your walkthrough, it shows you how to edit the JSON block. But if you edit the JSON block, if the syntax is incorrect, you won't be able to save it. So anyway, you can look at it. Well, this is how to extract the date, right? But one thing is this, in order to use the dates, I have to turn them on, okay? But do not turn on what you don't use, only turn on what you use, okay? You have to use the system entity somewhere in your implementation, right? So, and that's a goodbye, right? Well, in the folder, I showed you how I did. Well, and this is what happens when you test it. I just took notes and explained it for you. So you can look through this. You have to do that too. You have to explain how the user input is being read, right? And this part is a Watson discovery. So basically, you have to add a Watson discovery service, right? And well, when you do that, you have to follow the steps and the instructions. Well, this is the instructions. There is more than one way to do that. You could add the discovery service first and build the repository. If you do that, you have to make sure that you select the Washington, D.C. location. Location is D.C. You can do it this way, or you can create it on the fly. Skills, create skill, right? You do create skill, and then you do see here, you select in the search skill, and then you select next. Now, some of you did not see the next button. Some of you saw something like, I have it open intentionally. Some of you saw this. If you see this instead of next button, it means that when you edit your Watson Assistant service, you selected the wrong option. You selected the wrong plan because there are 3 plans. There is a light plan, then there is a trial plan. That's what you need to select here, okay? If you did not select the trial plan, you're gonna see this option, and you have to click on the trial plus plan. You have to click on this, okay? You have to click on it and then select 30 days. Now, this is a service plan. After 30 days elapse, and if you still need to use the service, you would have to add another instance. It will let you come back and download, export the JSON file. It will let you come back, export the JSON file, but you will need to create a new instance. So people, if you took this class last semester, if you're still using the same IBM Cloud account, when you attempt to download, when you attempt to access your Watson Assistant from last semester, you're gonna get a note that you cannot, but you can export your JSON file and reuse it, right? You're gonna see a message that your trial expired. this is not trial for the account. This is for the service. It's 30 days, okay? This plan for the service is for 30 days. To use it beyond 30 days, I believe it lets you extend once, and then you have to take the JSON file and re-import into, you have to create new service and import the JSON file, right? So now, well, I told you need to know the vocabulary. If you don't know the vocabulary, you would not know, if you don't know JSON file, you don't know what I'm talking about right now, right? So now let's go back to assistants. And this is a family healthcare assistant, right? I just did create assistant. I added this dialogue skill, okay? Now what else I did was this. This is a search skill. And when I did that, I had to create the service on the fly. And I would like you to do the web crawl. I don't want you to physically upload the documents because you want it to refresh dynamically, right? You're gonna select the new service, new repository, you're gonna accept. Sometimes I don't know how the student in question got prompted for it, but if it does give you some weird options, right? Make sure that you select Washington, D.C. if you're prompted. You should not. It should create the discovery service on the fly. But if it's not, then it will ask you would need to select DC. It does not matter that your Watson assistant is Dallas. It totally does not matter. Now here you're gonna do create new collection and you're gonna specify the site. Let's get started, right? Select web crawler and you're gonna specify the site. Important. WebMD is a good resource for medical stuff and for the fitness stuff. If you're using it on different topics, you probably have to use another site or collection of sites here, right? It depends on the topics that you're doing for your chatbot. So this part of the requirement is only for the assignment 4, not for the walkthrough. And because there is a limit on number of collections that you may have, right? This is a connector and it's gonna run now. Well, this connector cannot be rushed. You have to give it time to run, right? You cannot rush it. So it takes all night. For me, it took all night. You don't have to sit next to your computer during the time, but you have to let it run, okay? Do not turn off your computer, leave your PC on, and just let it finish. And at night, and then also, oh yeah, what happens during the night? When you come back, you might need to log back in because the service itself has a timeout time, right? Sometimes you may see something like a blank page because your session timed out. You need to log back in. Sometimes it did not save your search skill. It saved the repository that you created, but it did not save your search skill. So if it's the case, what you'll need to do is you need to go back again and re-add search skill again, right? You add the search skill again, and then instead of creating the new repository, you can select existing service, right? Well, that was the case for me when I was creating this assistant, right? When I was creating the search skill here, I was selecting existing service and existing repositories that I created last semester, right? I created my repository last semester. Well, not last semester, semester before last semester. Well, but I did, okay? Now, now another thing is that remember, you cannot test the search skill from the tried window. You have to use a preview link. You might be wondering what is that you need to send your friends. You're gonna go to here, and I'm gonna hit preview. Well, this link, this one, this link in this window. You have to take this one, and you're gonna copy and paste this. And this is a link. Well, actually, look at this. I can do this. Oops. I can click here. When I click on this, it's gonna copy the contents of this window. Oh, I hate when it does this. Okay. When I click here, it's gonna copy the contents of this window to my clipboard. Then I can just go in and I can just paste it, right? I can just paste it here. This is a link that you're gonna send, and you have to include this link in your assignment submission, okay? Well, because that's a way to test that you actually use the search skill. you're gonna have two members to well, no, not two members, as many members as you can get to test this. There are 2 days. After the first day of the experiment, you're gonna need to go back to your here. You're gonna go back to. Ooh, see this? I told you that the service has. Let me launch it again. I have several instances of the service. Don't do this, please. I do it because there is a limit. You can import only 5 skills, but as I'm helping you, I need to be able to do more. Well, okay, what I can do on the student, on instructor account, on faculty account, you're not going to be able to do on your student account. You're limited to 10 services total. Okay, now here, well, I go here, and this is my search skill. Oops, not search. That's not what I want. I want to go back now to my this skill, Mr. BMI Help Center. And over here, do you see analysis? I'm gonna click on overview. This is my conversation data, right? This is a data number of conversations that I had over this week, right? So see this? This is a number of conversation and number of messages per conversation. And then the average number of messages, right? Total number of messages. Here are the intents that were hit during the conversation. Top intents, top entities. So it gives me idea on how people are using my chatbot, right? And then you can dive into use the conversation directly. When I open the conversation, I can see what actually happened, right? So here, how to do CPR. Since nothing was matched, it was matching sort of like an explain intent, but no entities, right? I can open my conversation here and see what actually happened, right? I can do this. Look, I click on show classification. Well, it noticed that I haven't explained, right? Because how to it's a synonym for explain, but it did not match any entities, right? Well, then I would have to go back to my dialog. I would have to check my entry conditions, right? Sometimes, sometimes I want to change classification. You have to look at the classification. Like for example, if goodbye was not classified as a goodbye, right? Then I would have to click here. I would have to do click on intent, and I could change. I could change the intent to classify it as okay. I couldn't change my classification. That's what you would have to do. Is you would have to go through the dialogue, right? Something that it cannot identify. Like for example, suppose that you are asking to enter the countries, and I'm testing it. I enter Russia, and Russia was not part of your thing. Then you go, wait a minute, do I need to add Russia? But then you're gonna realize, no. You should use location entity. But anyway, sometimes the user input was misinterpreted. So they're gonna see it here. You need to explain what you did. Then you're gonna ask your users to retest again and see if it made a difference. Then you're gonna pretend that it's a 3-day experiment. Pretend. And then you're gonna explain what you would have done to run it again, right? If you want to, one of your participants can be TAs, me or Linesh. Sure, we do that. Then if I'm doing it, I will intentionally put something for you to look at. Intentionally, I'm going to put something in there, and I know how to do it, right? To put something that we will have something to look for in a conversation, okay? Usually, I find a way to put something that the chatbot does not expect, or sometimes I might find the flaw in the dialogue, some problems in the dialogue, and you're going to see it as when you see the conversation, okay? Sometimes I'm not going to tell you directly, but you will see it in the log. Okay. But yes, I mean, you can use me, or you can use Lineage as a resource for testing. Now, one thing is that don't be stuck on development process. At some point, you have to say, okay, move on to the paper, because you have to write the paper, right? It's two-part. It's an implementation and the write-up. Analysis count too. You can, after the class is over, you can keep on playing around with this, but remember this assignment cannot be extended. So Let's give me a promise, or give yourself a promise that you're gonna start. You better get started with this because, uh, the class ends when? At midnight, right? On the 10th, and that's it. You can. That's it. It's like chasing the aircraft on the runway. That's it. The gate shut down. It's over. You cannot. You're late. Then you're late. You miss the flight. Okay. Now, this is how the last assignment is. The thing is, okay. So that's a configuration thing, and now this is a search skill, right? Well, this is different configurations such as collection name and the message that you want to show when no results returned for the search, or sometimes it could be the connection failed with discovery service. If something going on the cloud, such as maintenance, and this is where it's triggering. I have to show you where it's being called the search skill. So if I go back to the dialog here, it's in here. Explain. It's in here. Information on the topic. You see this? Explain BMI. I have several response types here. So this is a text response type, and it has several variations, right? And then in here, this is an image response type. And under the image response type, I have a search skill. So here, search skill, right? This is where it's calling the search skill. And in here, I typed that I wanted to look for the body mass index. If I did not specify this, it would have searched for whatever I entered in an input, right? So that's what it does. It says that I want explicitly to look for the body mass index if this condition is true. So here, for this to be true, you have to match the intent explain, and this is the entity value, topic is BMI, right? So when somebody explicitly says assistant recognizes, explain, and then this is the entity value, BMI, this is what it is. You have several response types, right? You have a text response, you have an image, but remember, this is image URL. You cannot paste the image itself directly. And here, this is a search skill. But again, you cannot test the search skill from the tried window. You have to use the chatbot preview link, okay? Now, what else is in here? So I went over this, right? Well, building virtual assistant for this case, it's sort of like, well, think of it as if you're deploying the chatbot, right? Let's pretend that you're deploying it. You're not gonna actually embed it into another web page, but the question in assignment says this: pretend that you were going to embed it in a web page. What web page you would have embedded it to? It just pretend, right? And then you need to pretend that you're importing using other two services, right? And discuss how you would use it. Well, I think behind the scene, the natural language understanding, that was it being called by the what the discovery service, because it's trying to understand the natural language that you input, right? Then you could also integrate the you have this text to speech, speech to text, etc. Right? Just pick two, okay? And another thing to remember, this is popular today. You may have the mobile enabled chatbot, right? Some sites have a chatbot that you can use on your cell phone, right? So here, this is just a reminder that you have to add the search skill. And you have to add the dialogue skill and the search skill, right? And you cannot have more than 5 skills. So if you have to delete a skill, you can export the backup of the JSON file, right? You can save the JSON files, and when you have to edit again, you re-import, right? This screenshot is slightly different now because preview link now appears at the top, okay? But there is a preview link, okay? Well, maybe you see the different buttons have different color, buttons have different shape, but it's minor. Mostly it's the same, right? You have a preview link at the top, right? You saw it. Then there is a little link that you need to send to your friends, okay? Well, this is just showing you how to add the search skill. One search skill, right? And this one, well, okay. Well, the screen that you see now is a little different, but I showed you where to get this, right? Now it's a little bit different, but what's different is this. You just go to the assistant, right? I thought it's relatively self-explanatory. See this, I click on preview, and if I scroll up, this is a link that you want to share, right? This is a link. And when you look at the conversation analysis, the data that is in there is only when you use this link to test your chatbot. It's only the runs you did using this link. You're not gonna see anything you ran using tried window. Oh, I also need to answer your question. Well, it was not a question yet, but I'm sure it will come up. There is no limit on capacity hours for this assignment. Well, there is a limit on the number of API calls, but please don't worry. Nobody ever reached 1/10 of the limit, okay? Yes, the service has a limit on number of API calls per month, but we usually don't talk about it because nobody in this course ever reached 1/10 of that limit. So no worries, okay? Well, okay, now, so let's see. So you don't need to worry about the capacity hours, yay! But you do need to worry about the hours remaining before assignment is due. So, well, this is another reminder, you have to have your assignment ready. Well, that's because you cannot rush the service. The service takes its time, okay? Well, it's more like a explanation of what you observed. Maybe you got away with a bunch of menus and you don't need to adjust anything on your chatbot. I don't know. See, the answer will depend on your chatbot implementation, right? And this is just conversation log overview. The screenshot might be slightly different, but you got the idea, right? That site, it's a matter of poking around, you know. But I want you to look and explain what these numbers mean. Interpret the information, right? What is this and why is it useful? And this is some of the some of the useful documentation, how to work with data time and how to do the expressions. You might be able to find the phone number expression. I took everything from the documentation. So, I mean, the whole idea, the whole chatbot is original, but things like how do I read the email, you know, this stuff is from documentation. It's a code reuse. It's not code abuse. It's code reuse. Okay. Now, let's see. I want to see questions now. Guys, if you're awake and if you want to do well, please ask a question. Okay. Well, and this is an assignment where all of you should do it. Guys, all of you should do it, regardless of your standing in the course. And I told it to one of you last semester, and I'm going to tell it now, regardless of your standing in the course, do it. Because if you do it, even if you have no chance to pass the course, if you do this assignment, your teacher will grade it. You're going to get feedback, right? When you repeat this class, you might see this assignment again. So what you'll do is you're going to take instructor feedback and apply, right? If you are in a position that you have to retake the course, still do this assignment, because you're going to take away instructor's feedback. This is important, okay? So how do you save your task on your chatbot? What do you mean? Oh, how do you save? Oh, the chatbot, you export the JSON file. How to save? You have a JSON file. Well, if you go back, right? If you go back to the service, oh, it times out. Let me see. Loading instances. I don't like when it does this. Anyway, okay, so this is an instance, right? I'm gonna go back. So see this here? This is where it's saving. It's saving. I'm gonna go in here, and this is what I'm gonna do tonight. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do download, and I'm going to say, well, this is a JSON file, and you're gonna get it in the announcement. You're gonna get this file, right? JSON file. This is where it's saved. your chatbot is saved in a JSON file format. And then you're gonna, as you implementing it, right, it's built in the JSON file. It looks like an XML sort of kind of, but it's not, you know. Well, and then you're gonna submit that file. You're gonna download it and submit it, and also the document. So, but please make sure you take the quiz, because what I say is gonna sound like Russian to somebody who is non-native, something like that. How many pages should you be in writing? Okay, well, there is no specific requirement on number of pages, but it's quality over quantity, okay? It's quality over quantity. I cannot tell you that it should be 10 pages, because then you can say, hey, I did not do my analysis because I ran out of space, okay? Or I cannot say that it has to be at least 10 pages, because I'm gonna see you repeating sentences, right? So it's very difficult to set the limit, but you have to stay on topic. You have to stay on topic, right? And you still need to do the analysis. You cannot skip analysis, see? Skip an analysis is not a way to meet the page limit. And repeating the same sentence over and over and adding unnecessary, you know, adding 5 blank lines, etc. is not gonna help. It's quality over the quantity, right? So here there's no, well, I see why some courses have page limit, because people tend to go off topic. I think I understand that, but it's very difficult to say, because then people say, hey, I did not put analysis because it did not fit in whatever, it's 10 pages or whatever. I mean, but that's a good question. I don't know if Linesh or Yelena have a better answer for than I did.
No, you said it all. That's pretty much it.
And is there anything that you would like to add?
No, you covered it all. Thank you.
Well, I'm trying to, but I mean, later sometimes I'm, oh, wait a minute, did I say that? Well, I mean, I know that question and answers don't end now. There are gonna be questions as you start working as you digesting it. But please, please, please. Oh, and another thing is this. Regarding the cases, we are answering cases in the order that they were received in, but that's the order when the case landed in a correct queue. It may not be the order when you submitted the case if you selected the wrong case type, you know. So you can say, for example, suppose that Elena submitted a case 1 day ago, right? And she put the incorrect case type, right? And then Linesh submitted the case 1 hour ago, and he put correct case type. So, but it does not matter that Elena submitted 1 day ago, if her case, if the case that Linesh submitted ends up first in the correct queue, he gets assistant first. So it goes by the time when your case was submitted correctly or forwarded to the data queue. So that's the thing. When you submit the cases, please make sure that you select correct case type so it does not go around. Well, think of it as this. You're going to the shopping center and you went to the wrong line. What's going to happen? You're standing until somebody tells you you're wrong place. When you go to the correct line, where do you stand? You don't go in the middle, you go at the end, right? Same thing here. And the longer you wait, the longer is the line. So please make sure to ask questions early. And yes, I'm checking the questions and email everything during the weekend. Yes, we help during the weekend. And in fact, during weekend, sometimes we help faster because TAs work full-time job, right? So guys, if you see me on LinkedIn, tomorrow is my 9 years anniversary of the full-time job. So as you can tell, TAs work full-time job, right? And if you have connection with me on LinkedIn, tomorrow is a 9 years. Okay. Now another thing is that Linesh, what do you want to say? Yeah, I'm so glad it helped. Yes. Oh, thank you, Tony. Thank you. Yes. So 9 years, and well, sometimes the thing is, one thing is that sometimes you have to think outside the box. And the funny part was when during my training, I ended up helping the trainer with SQL. That happened, but well, it's a matter of coming up with solutions, etc. So, it took a while to get what I wanted to get, if you will, but finally, Anyway, so guys, questions? And yes, I have to check about the video because I'm not sure what's going on, but well, I'm not sure, but anything you can use to well, if you have a good handwriting, if you draw it on a paper and then scan it, that will do it. Okay. So let's see, more questions. Okay. If the web crawler is part, it needs to be completed. Well, yes, exactly. That's right, Tony. You want to do it 3 days before the work is due because you have to do 2 days of the training the chatbot. That's right. Day 1, then you have to look at the data, interpret. Then day 2, right? So yeah. Yes, that's right. There's no page limit, but I don't want to see 100 pages either, right? I don't want, I feel sorry for instructors when they receive 100 pages paper from each student, right? Well, I don't know, it's like, reading all of this and, well, it's quality over quantity, okay? It's going to be quality over quantity, but yes, the web crawler part, give it some time because sometimes it's a little bit not listening, if you will, okay? Sometimes you have to come up with a little bit out of the box solution, I would say. And also, please do not delete Watson Discovery. If you do, then you need to be willing to share your IBM Cloud credentials with me. I had a student who was uncomfortable with sharing the credentials. So what choices she had? Either don't delete it, but she already did, right? Second choice, give me your credentials, I'll clean it up and you continue assignment. Third choice, you won't be able to do this part of the assignment, worth 10 points. That's it, I mean, that's the choices you've got, okay? So think ahead of time before you do something, okay? Anything else? So you're gonna get this JSON file, you're gonna get the slides, you're gonna get the preview link, right? Because you would have to use my link. I cannot see when I share, I can share just JSON for the dialog skill. I cannot share the search skill. So you would have to use my link to preview, okay? And you feel free to submit, if you have questions about this implementation, you may submit the case too. It will be answered. But especially for stuff you're doing for assignment, please put cases because it's very difficult to answer it in a classroom. It's turning into speculation. First of all, TAs we cannot write in the classroom, right? But when you don't specify the specific steps, when it's turning into speculation. We're trying to guess what the issue is. No, that's not the way to go. You have to submit the case, and if necessary, you may have a screen share session with TA if necessary. Not always necessary, but once in a while, that's the way, okay? All right, more questions? No? If there are no questions, then I'm going to call it a night. And this was our last session for the semester. Hard to believe it goes too fast, huh? Okay, so there are no questions going once, going twice. Okay, everyone's happy. I'm gonna add this recording, and you're gonna get this. You're gonna get the recording. Okay, stop the recording.
Thanks, Elena. Okay.
Most welcome.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Night.